Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Rumors and innuendo and things that are certainly interesting in the world of sports right now and college sports specifically. How about these Bill Belichick, North Carolina rumors? Okay. So this story really broke last week, and I forget everything that was going on in the world of college sports at that time. I think we were kind of getting ready for conference championship weekend. So I don't think that I really addressed it. It might have dropped even Friday. We don't generally do a Friday show. But I bring it up because we haven't really talked about it. I didn't think it was really real. But all of a sudden, it sure does seem like Bill Belichick and North Carolina are in the midst of a very public flirtation. Flirtation. I'm tripping over my words here. I don't know why I keep slowing down. But I bring it up because, like I said, the rumors started probably Thursday or Friday of last week. Then, in what I thought was a little bit of an interesting twist, Bill Belichick does a Monday media appearance with the Pat McAfee show every single Monday. Well, he did the appearance in the midst of these rumors, talked a lot about the situation. Producer Matt, do we have sound of Bill Belichick on the Pat McAfee show?
You're interested. Why is that, Coach Belichick? Why do you think that is the case?
I did grow up that way. You know, my dad was a college coach. He was at North Carolina for 3 years, Vanderbilt for a year, and then in the Navy for 50. So, but yeah, it seems like college football is more like pro football. I've talked to a lot of college coaches about things like the salary cap and putting value on players and negotiating and kind of mixing all that together. So I think there are some similarities from what I've heard. I haven't experienced it firsthand, but feels like that.
You always thought about potentially getting back into college ball because of growing up with your dad, or is this something that has like kind of piqued your interest recently with the state of it?
Yeah, as you said, I grew up around college football and, you know, some great Navy teams there. And, you know, I learned a lot. And, you know, I've had an opportunity to talk to Chancellor Roberts. And, you know, we've had a couple of good conversations.
So that is some of what Bill Belichick did say on the Pat McAfee show on Monday. Where it gets interesting is that it went from, you know, I'm talking to him, my dad coached at UNC a million years ago, to we now have a report from a reporter that I've never really heard of that seems to indicate that the job is Bill Belichick's, okay? So before we get to this report, let me just give the caveat. We're recording. It is 2:31 Eastern time on Tuesday as we're recording this. You might not listen till 7 p.m. You might not listen till Wednesday morning. Stuff can change quick, so I don't want to be yelled at if stuff changes very quick. But let's get to the report from somebody named Ollie Connolly. And it's no disrespect. You know, just because I haven't heard of him doesn't mean that it's not a credible report. Bill Belichick, according to Ollie Connolly, Belichick has, quote, agreed to become the next UNC head coach. Belichick has handed the school a 400-page organizational Bible with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, decisions on whether to commit to UNC. He is expected to know their decision within 48 hours. Ollie Connolly continued. Belichick has a pro and college version of his updated manual and has shared it with other schools and teams, but he has drafted a new one specific to UNC that touched on every aspect of the program and school. Will need sign off from UNC's AD, chancellor, trustees, and boosters. And this is interesting. There has already been pushback from the group of 13 trustees with input from wider faculty. The investment would overhaul the school's approach to football. Belichick unsure if the school will meet his demands and is unwilling to negotiate. That's a tongue twister there. There's a lot going on. And let's just dive in. And by the way, producer Matt, just keep an eye on social media. If anything breaks while we're talking about this, please get in my ear or the chat and let me know. Let me say this about the whole thing. First of all, what I will say, independent of if Ollie Connolly is right, wrong, whatever, what has been well reported, The Athletic did a big, long piece on it, is that there's a lot of infighting at North Carolina right now. A lot of cooks in the kitchen. Frankly, from a lot of people in that school, it was an unpopular decision to fire Mac Brown in the first place. And so, one, it's not that I doubt Ollie Connolly. He's certainly got a lot of interesting facts in that report. But I think what does stand out about that is that, yes, I believe that there is very likely, some version of the truth in there. Belichick probably has laid out what his vision is for North Carolina. But I'll also say, like, I think there's too many facts for it to just be too many like interesting notes. Like Ollie Connolly, whoever you are, and no disrespect intended, you can't be making that. There's just way too much in there. He's obviously talking to somebody pretty high up at North Carolina. But what I would say is, one, I still don't really believe the reports. Not that I don't believe Ollie Connolly. Not sure that I totally believe the reports. But then also beyond that, it does feel a little just suspicious to me. Okay. So first of all, I believe, I don't doubt that there has been a meeting that has happened. But one, it doesn't sound like, even if you do believe the reports, that maybe North Carolina is as interested in Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick, you can't say that he's accepted the job when your third tweet down is that these are his terms. UNC has to take him or leave him. So he hasn't accepted the job. He has maybe said he would accept the job under certain conditions, but he hasn't accepted the job. So there's just a lot of insanity going on with North Carolina. But what I would also say about the whole situation, it still does just feel a little bit too on the nose to me. And I don't know that I believe that this is actually happening. And I don't know that I really believe that Bill Belichick actually wants to coach college football, with the caveat being, of course, that there are a lot of rumors that the job would one day be guaranteed to his son, Stephen Belichick. You know what this really reminds me of? I'll be honest, is that this really kind of reminds me of the whole Dan Hurley situation from over the summer. We talked about it pretty much every day for 5-6 straight days. And I said at the time, I never believed that story from the beginning, because what I said was, so the report breaks at 6 a.m., then Dan Hurley flies out, but he holds practice before, then he's in LA for less than 24 hours. Then he's somehow back in Connecticut for 72 hours pondering. It's like, if you're going to make a life-changing decision in Dan Hurley's case, and you spend less than 24 hours, but you need 72 hours to ponder, like it just never felt like it was a real thing to me. And I don't really feel like this Belichick thing is real to me as well. Let's just think about it at its most basic level, okay? If you are very interested in the North Carolina job, this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. Why are you talking about it in public? Every single year, we have coaches that are working in the media that then decide they want to get back into coaching and quietly work behind the scenes to get stuff done. You can use past examples, current examples. I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, Sean Payton. Remember, he was off for a year after he left the Saints. He's working at Fox. He's on Colin Cowherd's show every single Monday. He does an hour sit down with Colin, 40-minute sit down with Colin every single Monday. Then all of a sudden, Broncos job open. Sean Payton gets quiet. Sean Payton doesn't show up for Cowherd. And you're like, oh, that's getting serious. That's not just an internet rumor. There's something to it. By the way, again, stuff can change really quick. I could look stupid by the time you listen to this. But the Sean Payton thing, it was very obvious, very quick. Oh, he stopped doing media. He stopped being out there in public. Feels to me like maybe there's a little bit here, and maybe he's a little bit more interested in that Broncos job than we thought. I can go back like 10, 12 years. And I remember, this is part of getting old and seeing stuff happen time and time again. I remember when Urban Meyer, remember, he left Florida and did TV for a year. I remember Urban Meyer was calling games for ESPN the final week of the season. He's supposed to call a UConn game. It was a UConn-Cincinnati game back in the day. Brian Kelly was probably coaching in Cincinnati, honestly. And all of a sudden, the day before he was supposed to call the UConn-Cincinnati game, they had to replace Urban Meyer, and it was because he was clearly in negotiations with Ohio State for that head coaching job. And so to me, it's like you generally stop doing interviews when you're stop doing public interviews with the media when you're deep in negotiations with a school. Do I believe conversations have happened? Yes. Do I believe that he's on the verge of accepting the job, or North Carolina's on the verge of even offering the job? I don't. Sounds like, by the way, even if everything in that report is 100% accurate, there's got to be a lot of people ready to sign off at Carolina that I don't believe are really ready. I think also, let me also say this, because let me even backtrack, because what I would say is, to go back to the Dan Hurley thing, I still think, in my opinion, that Belichick is leveraging this job to try to get back to the NFL. I know that was kind of the early thought process. It feels like it's kind of died down as the conversations continue. I still think he's trying to get one of those NFL head coaching jobs. And don't tell me, well, he's doing this now. It's 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks until the end of the NFL regular season. And so how could he be trying to get an NFL job now? Well, first off, there are already 3 or 4 jobs open. The Jets are open. The Bears are open. The Saints are open. So there's jobs already open that could offer Bill Belichick the job today, could interview Bill Belichick today and offer him the job. And I think he's trying to work his way into that. I would also say, I think there's a very real possibility that he's trying to leverage some of those jobs that could open. He's obviously got historical ties to the Giants. Obviously, the Cowboys, I would think, are going to open after they choked again on Monday Night Football. They can't freaking recover a freaking punt. So I go on and on down the list. I still think he's trying to get to the NFL. But let me say this. I think there's a lot of conversations about how would Bill Belichick be in college. One, I don't know that he'd be very good. Not that he'd be bad, but we've seen a million guys come to college with no context of how recruiting actually works. And you could say, oh, it's a pro-style system and NIL and no. You still have to work in recruiting. But two, I have 2 other things. First off, this idea of, well, he's run player personnel for years. It's like, yeah, and he was terrible at it. Like, the one thing you can't deny about Bill Belichick, maybe the greatest maybe the greatest NFL head coach of all time, probably is the greatest head coach of all time. You know what he wasn't? The greatest GM of all time. Like, Bill Belichick, the GM, got Bill Belichick, the head coach, fired in New England. But 2, I was thinking about this. If you are North Carolina, and it sounds like there's some trepidation kind of in that building. And again, I think part of it is probably some of it being just the idea of like, is this guy serious? But also just 10, 12, 15 people that all feel like they should be the one making the decision. My other thought, though, with Bill Belichick was pretty straightforward. Producer Matt, this might be good for a quote graphic. But here's my question about North Carolina. You don't have to quote me verbatim, but I keep seeing that the reason he really wants a North Carolina job is to get his son, Stephen Belichick, aligned to be the coach in waiting. But here's my question on that. Do you really want to, like every other coach that's hired, their number one priority is to win a national championship? Scott Frost just took the UCF job. It's to win a national championship. Purdue. I mean, Barry Odom took the Purdue job. I don't think he's going to win one there, but what is his number one goal? To win a national championship? Is Bill Belichick's number one priority to win a national championship, or is it to put himself in a place where his son can get the job? So 1, I still think he's trying to work those NFL angles. 2, it sounds like UNC is a mess. 3, even if he is interested, is this the guy you want? Not because he's not a great coach, but if his only goal of being there is to hand the thing off to his son, what if he wants to do it in a year? What if he goes to UNC and wins 9 games next year, and then all of a sudden the NFL wants him? You're just going to build Stephen Belichick's your coach a year from now? So it feels like it's kind of a mess behind the scenes. By the way, I have a very half-baked take on what might be going on that I'm not ready to reveal just yet. So we'll see if this thing goes on. But I just go back to, why are you doing public interviews if you're actually negotiating? Forgive me. I just don't know if I believe these reports.